Welcome. Today I would like to help to install the WAMP server on Windows 8.1. So the reason I made this tutorial is that I ran into this problem myself. I have a laptop with Windows 8.1 and I sometimes, or I would say quite often, make some web development. And then I want to have all the pages on one computer locally when I edit them and work with them. So what we need to have for that is the virtual host. Since we want to have it on the desktop and especially in the WAMP server, I ran into some minor problems in Windows 8.1, which took me some hours to figure out. But now since I figured them out, I want to share them with you how to fix them. To start with, this Windows 8.1 machine is completely installed from scratch. The only thing I've made difference is updating it and adding some web browsers. The USC is still enabled because I want to make sure that this works even if you have the USC enabled. So that's why. So to start off with, I would like to download the WAMP server. And then I'm going to Google it because I don't remember the address. I'm going to Google for WAMP. And we need to download the correct version to our machine. So if you want to download it, I'm going to take this. Now it's this. I want to explain everything in detail here. That's why I'm going to explain. Because you see, you have some difference here. There is 64 bits, these ones, and you have the 32 bits here. To find out which machine you have, you can right click on this window flag if you have Windows 8.1, because in Windows 8 it's not the same, because you need to patch it to get this one. And then you can select the system over here, and here you find the system type, which stands, I'm using a 64-bit machine. So now since we know that, we can download the 64-bit version. Since I'm running Apache 2.2 on my Unix server, I want to use this one to make sure that I'm not making any version jump in the Apache on my development machine. So this is the one correct for download for me if I'm using 64-bit. In case you use 32-bit, it's this one you want to have. We also need to make sure we have this Visual C++ package downloaded here. So there are two versions here. The first one is the 32-bit version. This one is the 64-bit. I'm going to make sure and download this one first and install. Now the C++ package is installed correctly, and I'm going back to the download for the web server here. Download it directly, that's what I want to do. And this is like a normal installation, nothing special. And here you just, I normally select the first option here, explore.exe. And this is the firewall asking if we want to permit it. Yeah, sure. I think we start the Apache right away. And now we need to make some minor things to make this work, because the first problem you encounter is the localhost problem, this one. This is the typical Windows 8.1 problem. I'm sure that this will be fixed in the WAMP server later on, but for now we need to fix it ourselves. The problem is very simple. We just need to change something in the http.conf file. So click on this green W here and go to Apache, and then select http.conf, httpd.conf, I mean. In here we want to search for, let's see, online offline tag, something like this. And if we scroll down here, here is the problem, because it wants to allow from the localhost IP address in the EPY4 version. In Windows 8.1, I think if you do like this, that we can try to explain the problem, that if I want to ping the localhost, I don't think I get, yeah, this is the problem, because the localhost is not resolution as the 127.00.1. Its resolution is the IPv6 hexadecimal one you see here for localhost. So to solve this, it's very simple. We just stand after this line, press space to make one space between, and then we add this like this, and we make a 1. This will make the localhost IPv6 resolution to work. Okay, so just save this. We can close it for now. And then press the green W, go to Apache. No, sorry, not there. Just, you can simply take restart all services, because we need to restart everything. Once it's restarted, we should be able to visit localhost now. So that solved our first problem. So our next wonderful step will be to activate or I would like to say configure to enable the virtual host. So we will be able to have many hosts in the same server. All right, so let's configure our WAMP server to work and serve as a virtual host. To do this, we simply have to go to the HTTPD file again, the config file for Apache. But this time we should search for the virtual host. This is not the correct one. So we search forward a bit more. And one step more. I think it should be, yeah, it's almost at the end of the file. You only need to do one thing to start with here, that you need to remove this hash mark, because hash marks are out commenting the file, means that this will be ignored by the Apache when it runs the configuration reading. But if you just remove this hash mark here, then it will include the conf file for the HTTP virtual host conf. And this file is where we put all the configuration for our virtual host. So we're going to edit it after. So make sure that you remove the hash mark there on the include. Then you save and restart Apache by taking restart all services, because it should appear green there, but you can wait to take all the restart later on. So now we should edit the virtual file. for the virtual host, the file for virtual host configuration. It belongs to the C folder, the C hard disk drive, and then you go to WAMP, and then you go to the bin and Apache 2.2, and it should be in the conf, and it should be in the extra. There is the file you want to edit. That's the one that is included. So I think that if you're going to edit this file, I would recommend to use another editor if you like to, because I think I can edit this with Notepad, but I really don't like Notepad for editing. But okay, for now I take Notepad for this time. So I open Notepad, and I want to edit this file. I wonder if I drag and drop works. Yes, it does, even if Notepad is the worst editor ever. In this file, we need to add an instance for each virtual host. It looks something like this, but remove these ones are not needed. We're going to make our own ones. So in here, we're going to first make a virtual host place for to point where should we go if someone search, if the localhost search, if a machine search for example, let's say localhost, it should write to right folder. So simply do like this. So this is our first local host, which will be like this. When someone is searching for www.localhost or even searching for localhost name, they will be pointed to the document root cvamp www. So let's say that we wanted to create some web pages that doesn't exist more than our local machine. Then we can take the next host to be called, let's say that we are working with the project to be an uploader project. We can call it uploader.com, for example. Simply you can just copy this here, so you don't need to write it again, and paste it here. But instead you want to write the domain names, not the localhost here. So then should look like this. And then we can have the folder name inside of the www folder, which is /uploader.com. Right now we haven't added any, let's say, any access log or error log. We can add them right away, so we have them fixed, which will put the problems inside. For example, if you're making a wrong access or to see what's happening when the access. This is very good for debugging. To make an error log, it's quite simple. It's very simple actually. You just write error log followed by the file name with the path and the file name. So we could do something like this, for example. We could call this file to separate everything, not to put everything in the same one. Uploader.com error log, error.log, and then we want to have the access log also, which we call custom log. And we can do like this. Then we can rename this one to access.log and then add common. Then we save this. Then we can add another instance also. And we can call this my homepage.sc. My homepage.sc. And then, so every new web place you want to add, you just add a new virtual host like this into this file, as you can see. Then we need to have a folder for it. And then we can name this one to my homepage. And this one also. So for every new web page, you just add this one. Okay, so we have to create folder for all the pages also. And to do this, you have to go to the WAMP www folder, and then we need to add the same name as this one has. You can see uploader.com, which is this one here, the same. And then we need to have for the other page, which is my homepage.sc. And I think we can add an HTML file in this one, so also to see that we are arriving to the right web page. You can start with uploader.com. I want to see if I can visa. This one should work. I wanted to be able to edit the file directly to a web page file like this. And then I want another one in my home page. I wonder if I can edit it with... Then we do like this instead. Let's open another instance of the notepad to edit this one to be called my homepage.sc. Then we can save. Okay, so now we have one folder for each web page, and we have an HTML file inside, which should welcome us when we visit them. So let me think now if we missed something. No. Everything should be correct set up in the host file. Make sure that you save this one, I mean the virtual host file. The next step, we need to edit the Windows host file, because we need to point the local the domains myhomepage.sc and upload.com to point from in this local machine to our local machine back. This can be a bit not tricky, but this can be a bit confusing in Windows because you need to open a notepad as administrator. So you simply do like this. I cannot reach the bar to the right side here in VMware, so I need to walk this way to take search. And then I search for notepad. And then right click on the notepad and select run as administrator. I apologize, my Windows is on Swedish, but this one was the only one I could get the license for. So when you run this as administrator, you should be able to edit the host file on a computer. So just go to archive and select open. We're going to the Windows, to the C Windows System 32. Let me walk the path through so you get the right one. C, Windows, and then System 32. And then you want to find drivers, and then etc, And here you have to select from text document to select all files. And then you select the hosts file here, open it. So for every web page we create local on a machine, we need to add a domain name here. So for example, copy this one and add it right after. And rename this localhost from this one to, for example, uploader.com. I think that was the name of the web page we created. Yes. And then we want the other one to be was it homepage or web page? My homepage. .sc. And then we save. This makes sure that when we want to search for these domains name, they are pointing to the local host. So for example, if we ping uploader.com, we are pointed to our local machine. If we ping, for example, my homepage.sc, we are pointed to our local machine. And so this means that we are correctly pointed back to our machine there. When everything is set up, you just need to restart Apache. And then when you search for the web pages, for example, localhost.com, I mean the localhost is still localhost. But if you open another tab and you select uploader.com, you arrive to the uploader.com website. And then if you take the my homepage.sc, you arrive to the correct directory. And we were setting up also the log files to work correctly. So let's see if they actually do this. Here you see my homepage.sc access log. It works. And you also have the upload.com access log. It also works. So remember that when you want to add more web pages to your project, you need to create a corresponding directory in that folder. And in the vhost file, you need to add one of these ones, a new one for each page you set up, and you need to have the correct server name, server alias, and you need to have the folder set up correctly. And if you want, you can have the logs, or you can remove them also, but it's nice to have them for debugging. And then you need to add the domain name to the host file to make the lookup work correctly on the local host. And then after, you just need to restart the Apache or the WAMP server, but that's Apache. So that covered everything to make the virtual host working properly. And another thing I want to point out, that some people might need to use the Apache rewrite engine. Rewrite engine is very nice, especially if you want to convert different names of the address to another ones, but that will come later. I'm sure that you will find use for it. So I just tell you how to start it. You just go to Apache and you go to Apache modules, and then you go all the way down here. And then you should find rewrite module here. So the rewrite module here, you just click on it and Apache automatically restarts here. And then it has the rewrite module enabled. So this can be needed for many web pages. It's at least used for my web page when I make some pretty URLs to avoid the PHP ugliness of the address field. Alright, so that's how you set up the WAMP server in virtual host on the Windows 8.1. Have a nice web coding and enjoy.